Another big story here for Breakfast Extra. Nigeria's press once thrived as the voice of its democracy. These days, that voice is being stifled, not always by soldiers in the newsroom, but by laws, legal threats, and also security agencies. Now, over the past decade, our country has experienced one of West Africa's steepest declines in press freedom, raising red flags about the future of public accountability and the right to know, well, in response, Declassified launched a documentary diagnosis called How Press Freedom is Dying in Nigeria. Hosted by Jude Bela, it doesn't just air concerns, it amplifies the lived realities of journalists under surveillance, smear, and arrest, even when operating within constitutional rights. This is a fight for soul of storytelling in our nation. In essence, Declassified exposes a deep, troubling erosion of press freedom, from legal threats to forced closures and also the chilling effect of surveillance. It's a clarion call for that the free press, not celebrities, not politicians, but for journalists. That's the clarion call. We're increasingly under siege, and that's why it's out there. So, joining us is Jude Bela, presenter and also producer for Declassified. Jude, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Grand. So, Jude, what patterns of censorship or suppression are you talking about here? Because we've always heard about press suppression, but what exactly struck you that, well, made you put out this documentary?
Well, thank you so much for that question. You see, Nigeria's democracy is only as strong as its ability to protect press freedom. And right now, that freedom is under serious threat. The press freedom in Nigeria today is fragile. Journalists can publish stories, but they often face harassment, arrest, heavy fines, or even disappearances. If they touch powerful interest group, you see the next thing is either a policeman has picked them up or DSS or whatever without access to their lawyers. So yes, the press exists in Nigeria, but it's not truly free. And we can see that some people are shying away from pressing record now to tell stories of injustice happening in the society. So that was what we tried to uncover with this documentary, but also to shine the light on the press, on the journalists that have lost their lives doing their job, like we saw during the NSAS protests. And in fact, during the End Bad Governance protests of 2024 as well, several media houses faced a lot of intimidation from security forces. So we should shine the light on these things so that the journalists doing their job feel protected by the society. And that was what we tried to do with this documentary.
So, Jude, Nigeria ranks 112th out of 180 countries in the Worldwide Press Freedom Index. Now, my question is, during the course of your research for this documentary, did you find out whether the instances seem to increase, maybe from, say, the 60s up until now? If you were to be asked what administration was most responsible for suppressing press, which would it be?
Well, the press freedom in Nigeria is something we were talking about right now. The decline started really in the last decade. That is starting 2015 when the APC came into power. So I would say the activities of former President late Muhammadu Buhari increased that decline of press freedom in Nigeria. And when the cybercrime Act was passed into law under his administration, everything went downhill from there. Yeah, so I would say Buhari.
Now, did you take a look at press houses or media houses? Did you see any pattern there that could also point to press suppression? Who own these media houses and what kind of narrative do they tell? And does that count as press suppression?
Well, the ownership of these media houses, sometimes, it's always in the gray. Some of them are owned by politicians, ex-politicians, and sometimes, not always, we can see that a particular media house is being witch hunted in a way, allegedly, and then you can See, maybe this is political decisions, but there are no evidences out there to suggest that. Some other times it's the journalists themselves, because one, we can say media house is owned by a particular politician. It doesn't really mean the journalists there are owned by these politicians. You understand what I mean? So the fact that a particular media house is owned by a particular person that is leaning towards a certain political party doesn't mean that the investigative journalists working in that media house are not doing due diligence in their reportage. Yet, so having the security forces arrest and harass those journalists, not the media house, just for the sake of covering a particular story, is what we are talking about, not the ownership of the media house in question.
So, in effect, what does this do for the profession as journalists? Are we seeing an influx of people into the profession, or are we seeing it dwindle? And then after you answer this question, I would like to ask how we can actually add the, times that we find ourselves in with AI and all of that. But first of all, is the profession growing or is it dying?
It's dying. It's not growing. In fact, personally, I like to tell my boss that I don't consider myself a journalist. I love to do research, and I read these stories, and when they touch me, I go into it and try to tell these stories as best as I can. But how about the people in the field doing the investigative work? I spoke to a colleague one time who had to go into Kaduna to report on the genocide happening in southern Kaduna. And for every time he was there, he told me how scared he was for his life. And at a point, he feared some people were following him. So in situations like this, I'm not sure this encourages anyone to jump into a field that can get you killed. So I think people are leaving journalism in Nigeria, and the reasons are there for everyone to see. So what's the second question again?
Well, my second question, I hadn't asked it yet. What I wanted to know is, we find ourselves in an age where we have plenty of infusions, from AI to, just generated conversation from AI specifically. How does this affect press? Does this give the press or journalists a bit more courage to go out there and actually put out material? Does it help the situation in any way, or does it actually help deteriorate the situation or the profession?
Well, in a way it helps, but working with AI, you should be careful now, because there's this tendency for these AI tools to hallucinate and chunk out wrong information sometimes. So you can't always rely on them if you're using them for research and all that. But the place it can help you now is doing this and protecting your
identity.
Your identity now. Yes. So there are AI tools that journalists can use now to do the voicing of their work and put out. That is, you can do the investigation yourself, write your story, and then have these AI tools voice the story for you and put it out without putting your face out there to protect your identity if you are scared for your life. I think those AI tools can help in regards to security for the journalists now.
So this is a good thing, but then how does it affect authenticity and credibility when these informations are out there, or these materials are out there? Because we all know what AI looks like. We all know what it sounds like. And mostly, personally, when I hear these clips, I just disregard them. So once again, do you think that it will help the profession, or it's killing it? Even if it helps to preserve or save the identity of journalists, especially investigative journalists, in the long run, how authentic does it make the information seem?
Well, you, like the story we put out on this press freedom now, everything we shared in the story is factual, and there are sources to back them up. Hearing my voice and seeing my face doesn't make it more real, right? So you can use AI tools to hide your identity and still present the facts with evidence to back back up what you're saying. So I don't think trying to use AI to conceal your identity to protect yourself is going to impact the facts of what you're presenting. However, if you're using AI for research, that is why I have to say you be careful, because there are lots of information there that needs your verification as a journalist. So you don't just go to AI like ChatGPT, ask the question, and then copy whatever it tells you and put it out as fact. You need to do your own independent verification. However, in terms of voicing and the others, I think AI can help with that.
Bela, do you think that this administration, or maybe even the next, would be willing to invest in reforms for the press or journalism as a profession? Do you think they are ready to help strengthen the rules guiding it, and also help keep back any sort of maybe unfair treatment for press people? Do you think that this administration is ready to do this?
Well, you see, press freedom isn't just about journalists now. It's about every Nigerian's right to know the truth. Without it, our democracy is just an illusion. So, if you're asking me if this administration is ready to defend our democracy, I doubt it. Because from what we are seeing, there are instances where the institutions guarding our democracy are being destroyed by the activities of this administration. So first, it has to be the political willingness to defend our democracy in spite of personal ambitions. So if this administration is ready to sacrifice their personal ambitions and defend our democracy, say, okay, I don't mind if I lose election, but Nigeria democracy must be protected, then we can have a conversation. But if it's all about we must return in 2027, I don't see that happening. I don't think they're doing the right thing for journalism or for journalists or to protect press freedom in the country.
Well, Jude Bela, I want to say thank you very much for your honesty, and also thank you very much for putting together such a beautiful package on Declassified regarding press freedom. We'll continue to hope that this continues to be a focal point for us as journalists, and maybe also the authorities who are in charge of making sure our democracy is upheld. Once again, thank you very much, Jude.